المصطفى محمد. وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. A man is confused and turning this way and that. A man is confused and turning this way and that. He finds himself behind but wants to be ahead. So a man is confused and turning this way and that. He finds himself behind but wants to be ahead. Speech and grammar jumbles in his mind. He's confused. Speech and grammar jumbles in his mind. He's confused. Confused what he wants to say with the aforesaid. He remembers something that makes messes aligned. He remembers something that makes messes aligned. A phrase always uttered, a sentence always read. A phrase always uttered, a sentence always read, till he recalls the cure of the distracted mind. Till he recalls the cure of the distracted minds. A phrase always uttered, a sentence always read, till he recalls the cure of the distracted mind. Sending blessings on Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. He is the 8th in the series of the imams from the household of the Prophet, in whose personalities all the standards of greatness have been personified. So they became its most magnificent example and most genuine fountainhead. He is one of the bedrocks of Islamic thought and are of its main rich sources of knowledge. After the demise of his father, the secrets of the divine message and the keys to his treasures became attainable to him. So he quenched his thirst. He quenched his thirst therefrom and derived the source of his intellectual contribution from the same. He dispelled the ambiguities of science, mainly medicine, by becoming the pioneer and founder of its principles and rules. His familiarity with various branches of knowledge and with all norms of learning in general was a cause for the nation's admiration and reverence to him. His life was characterized by somber tragic stamps from its grievous beginning to its painful end. His life was characterized by somber tragic stamps from its grievous beginning till its painful end. Bitterness seldom parted from his soul during the periods he lived. His birthplace was Medina. His birthplace was Medina. His resting place is Tus, most commonly known as Mashhad. He is Ali, the son of Musa, son of Ja'far, son of Muhammad, son of Ali, son of Hussein, son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He is Imam al-Reza, alayhi afdal as-salati wa azka as-salam. Allahumma salli ala Ali ibn Musa. Allahumma salli على علي بن موسى الرضا المرتضى عبدك ووليك القائم بعدلك والداعي إلى دينك ودين آبائه الصادقين صلاة لا يقوى على إحصائها غيرك. Oh Allah, send blessings on Ali ibn Musa, who pleased you, the chosen, your servant, the defender of your religion, rightly and justly established by you as an authority, who made earnest presentation of arguments to promote your religion, which is the religion of his truthful ancestors, blessings which no one is able to measure other than you. Yes, Ali ibn Musa al-Reza, the eighth of a line of infallible imams, in which I'd like to spend a couple of words. Of course, my knowledge is very limited when it comes to me. I can sing, but I can't do speeches. So I've been asked to give some sort of biography or a bit of lessons that we can learn from the life of Imam al-Reza. And of course, he is known for many things, but the main common thing that Imam al-Reza is known for is the golden narration. Every time we mention Imam al-Reza, it's the golden narration this and the golden narration that. Of course, it's very, very significant, especially in this day and age. But if we look deeper into Imam al-Reza's life, we'll find that he is actually a person who was so revered by his lovers and his enemies that was the cause of his actual demise. He was so intellectual and so eloquent in his speeches and his research that the enemies found it hard to get rid of him, because they loved him so much, and it's very difficult to fathom, but his enemies loved him so much in terms of how much impact he had on the community that they couldn't exactly throw him away or kill him, but they couldn't exactly accept that he was one of the imams. So Imam Reza, once you look deeper into his life, you'll find that he's a doctor. Literally, in the sense, he's actually a doctor in the sense that he was a master of medicine. One of the most important works of Imam Reza is the Golden Dissertation. Now, for all the young ones, and I must say, I was actually looking tentatively at the young ones, and they didn't actually flinch throughout the whole majlis. Speaking from an Iraqi background and within the Iraqi culture, you will never ever find so much youth. Actually, they'll either be outside, or if they're inside, they'll be engrossed in their sort of PSPs or their iPhones or something like that. So congratulations to the youth for attending this majlis. And of course, I know that there's a very, very important cricket match going on in India and Pakistan. I don't know what the results are, and I don't know which side I'm on, so I'm just going to be very, very safe and say I hope that the best team wins. In any case, a dissertation for all the young ones is the worst part of your life that you probably will get to. It's just a research in which you bring so many sources and narrations and and books and articles and so on and so forth into something which is like an essay, if I can put it very simply. So, the Golden Dissertation by Imam al-Reza. Of course, Imam al-Reza wasn't just known for his Islamic law. People didn't go to him for wisdom in terms of jurisprudential issues. Imam al-Reza was the master of medicine, as I mentioned. So, the sciences in which he studied wasn't, of course, like I said, the jurisprudence, but it included all sciences, and one which was medicine. He was, of course, unique in medicine, and the proof of that was the Golden Dissertation, which is called Al-Risala al-Dhahbiyya fil Tibb. And coincidentally, this title, a title of medal, or the title of doctor, was actually given to him by the person who, narrations state, killed him. So Al-Ma'mun actually gave him the title of doctor within the community. In any case, the dissertation contains many things in which a human being can prevent any diseases and finds the cure to common illnesses. In simple terms, the dissertation contains general programs necessary to put right man's body. So anything which happens, which is wrong with the human body, it puts right. It prevents it from disease, and it's regarded as the main base of preventative medicine, and it's a great means of improving health. So that's just in simple what the dissertation included.
Now, the cause of the writing, why did Imam Reza actually compile this essay or this dissertation on actual, medicine? The palace of Ma'mun in Baghdad, initially, the palace of Ma'mun in Baghdad was known for its deep Islamic and deep sort of philosophical discussions. It turned from the Yazid's time in which monkeys were roaming around. It turned from that kind of age to a place where knowledge was disseminated, especially in the palace of Ma'mun. So the Abbasid palace was changed into a theatre for philosophical and scientific research. One such scientific research that was presented in the seminar was man's body. How can how the teachers and the students, they came together and they actually experimented on man's body. How can we find more information about the man's body and its anatomy, and the brain and the mind and the heart and so on and so forth. So Ma'mun was sitting there with his advisors and his researchers, and he asked a question to Imam Reza. He says, Abu Hassan, what do you say about this matter in which we are trying to recognize these things, the useful and the harmful foodstuff and directing the body? So Imam Reza, you didn't say Imam Reza, but he said, Abu Hassan, what do you say about the issues concerning food and nutrition in terms of the human body? So Imam Reza, whilst he was looking at the discussions, he stayed silent and he smiled. So when the question was asked towards him, he said, I have of it knowledge of what I have personally tested and came to know about its significance by experimenting and by passing of time. In addition to what I was told by my ancestors, I shall compile it with an equal portion of what everyone should know. Now there are a couple of messages that I'd like to send out just by this narration itself. Because Imam Reza says, I personally tested it and experimented it. Of course, we are all happy in the knowledge that the Imams receive divine revelations or receive divine sort of information that they innately know. But often is the case that the Imams themselves, they actually practically had to find this knowledge sometimes. So that's why the Imam says, I tested and came to know about this significance or the significance of medicine through experimenting. So the Imams, even if we go for example to Imam al-Hussein, he practically knew about revolution, he practically found out about revolution by actually sacrificing himself. The same with Imam al-Sajjad, he practically knew or he practically found out about supplications through the many supplications that he did throughout the nights and the days. Likewise with Imam al-Sadiq and jurisprudence. He practically taught people. He had to search and research the information that was available to him in order to be able to disseminate the knowledge. So back to Imam Reza, he practically experimented to find out more about this medicine or the human body. And he puts it in absolutely amazing terms, the way he describes the human body, which funnily enough, only about 100 years ago, information or knowledge is received regarding the human body and all this scientific research, and wow, we're so knowledgeable, especially in the Western spheres. How knowledgeable they are. Science is expanding and so on and so forth. But bro, look back 13 centuries ago and you have a golden dissertation. Habibi, look back 13 centuries ago and you have supplications. Look back 13 centuries ago or 14 centuries ago and you have a book called the Quran, which has scientific explanation that you might find out now, or it has supplication that you might find out now, or it has all this information that this world has only just been able to find out about. But anyway, so the contents of the dissertation, of course, it goes into depth. And if I was to speak about the contents, it will be more or less a medicine or a biology lesson. Literally, I've read a couple of extracts from the dissertation, and it literally goes into the cells and how they work, and the blood and the lungs and so on and so forth.
Now I don't want to bore the young ones with the full biology lesson, but in any case, I do urge you, every single person to actually go back and read through the Golden Dissertation, because it's available, it's online, and it's actually been compiled over 100 years ago. So the content of the dissertation is, in short, the betterment of the body. The betterment of the body. Protecting it from disease. Making it... Sorry, I actually cannot read my handwriting at all. Making it... In any case, the contents of the dissertation is the betterment of the body, protecting it from disease and making it enjoy perfect health. Enjoy perfect health. The conduct of bathing. So Imam Reza speaks about the conduct of bathing, the basic elements of health, which takes care of cleanliness of the body. And of course, he delves deep into the aspect of nutrition. What to eat, when to eat, what time of day to eat, what time of day to drink. Of course, we have many narrations. I mean, I've always been told by my mother, don't, for example, clip your fingernails on a Friday, or don't eat fish on a Thursday, or don't eat yogurt, and so on and so forth. Thinking, Mom, where do you get all these things? Oh, Imam Reza said. I'm like, okay, Imam Reza said it. So anyway, so the balance of nutrition, and in which man's health and protection from disease depends on. So he speaks about the nitty-gritty of what to eat, when to eat, where to eat, how to eat, all in this golden dissertation. صلى على محمد وآله محمد. The opening statement of the Golden Dissertation wraps up exactly what the Imam is intending to do, or is intending to say within his dissertation. He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the merciful. No, when Allah tries a servant with a disease, He appoints for him a medicine in order to cure himself with it. And for every kind of disease, there is a kind of medicine, conduct, and prescription. So in this day and age, it's the same, it's sort of more or less the same system. There is a disease, a diagnosis, and then there's a prescription. So Imam Reza, exactly those words he says. When there is a disease, there's a kind of medicine, a conduct, and a prescription. Now significantly, Imam Reza says, when Allah tries a servant with a disease, He appoints for him a medicine. Now this, for example, we know that the medicine of the soul is supplication, seeking nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he has, like Imam Reza has likened so not only is it physical explanations or research, it's also a link between man and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he likens it, I mean, the language that he uses is very in sync with the language that the people use. He didn't use long and difficult words. No, it's the terminology that he uses is very simple for people to understand. So Imam Reza, when he talks about the heart, and he talks about the eyes and the eyelids and the eyebrows and the ears and the nose and all the functions of all these features of the face and the body, one thing that he mentions when he first starts talking about the body, which is absolutely amazing, which I'll explain to you now, it says, man's body is just like a kingdom. Man's body is just like a kingdom. The heart is the king of the body. The heart is the king of the body. The vessels, the limbs and the brain are its workers. So the heart is the king of the body. So the limbs and the vessels and the brain are its workers. The house of the king is his heart. The house of the king is his heart. His land is his body. The helpers are his hands, his legs, his eyes, his lips, his tongues and his ears. His storekeepers are his stomach and his abdomen, and his chamberlain is his chest. And this is the way Imam Reza begins to explain the body. So, صلى على محمد وآل محمد. So in any case, Imam al-Rida, he lived in a time where narrations state that the caliph of the time had inclinations towards Imam al-Rida. He respected Imam al-Rida. But even with the invitations that Al-Ma'mun gave to Imam al-Rida, if Imam al-Rida was to accept those invitations to be, for example, caliph, or to be, for example, the next leader after him, that would mean Imam al-Rida accepts the system of government in which it will defy the fact that he is an imam. So Imam al-Rida always kept a distant relationship to Ma'mun. In Baghdad, there were many revolutions, or there were many revolts against Ma'mun, especially coming from the Alawis and even the non-Alawis. So in Baghdad, the political situation was very difficult for Ma'mun. So what he said is that he moved his caliphate, or he forced Imam al-Rida to move to Al-Tus, or commonly known as commonly known as Mashhad. However, will now delve into the more common features of Imam al-Rida, which is the golden narration. So, on his way to Tus, a caravan of approximately 20,000, as it states in the narrations. So this is 20,000 people walking with Imam al-Rida as he finds his new destination. 20,000 people, and they're all begging the Imam to show his face so that they can see the bright nur coming from his face. They're begging the Imam to give them a piece of information of salvation. They're begging the Imam for something which they can take into their lives. So Imam al-Rida stops. And when he stops, he comes out. And then he says, Allah in His mercy had set a condition. Allah in His mercy had set a condition. Allah then gave this as a trust to Jibreel. Of course, he didn't actually specifically say these words. These are the words of Nuri Sardar, in which we have used poetic license to create an imaginative atmosphere, or imaginative creativity in which the Imam has said. Of course, what the Imam said, I will get onto later in the lecture. But this is poetic license for anyone who's interested. This is not the exact words of the Imam, just in case. So Allah in His mercy had set a condition. Allah then gave this as a trust to Jibreel. Jibreel then brought down this revelation. Jibreel left it in the hands of Muhammad. Muhammad, he tried to teach it to his nation. Muhammad then asked to guard over it Ali. Ali proved the necessity of its function. Ali left it written on his shroud for Hassan. Hassan, for guarding this face, hatred and fiction. Hassan left it lodged in his coffin for Hussein. Hussein, for this trust inspired revolution. Hussein wrote it in blood, left to speak it Sajjad. Sajjad showed it could be used for prayer's ascension. Sajjad showed it could be used for prayer's ascension. Sajjad transformed it into knowledge for Baqir. Baqir proved by teaching it you can bring action. Baqir built its very foundation for Sadiq.
Sadiq reshaped the world just with its reflection. Sadiq reshaped the world just with its reflection. Sadiq reflected it to the mind of Kadhim. Kadhim spread it far, even under detention. Kadhim spread it far, even under detention. Kadhim imprisoned, managed to give it to Reza. Reza, when on him was all mind and attention. Reza, when on him was all mind and attention, he was asked to give them something of salvation. Then he gave them a trust, a golden narration. He gave them a trust, a golden narration given to me from Kadhim, reflected to Kadhim from Sadiq, built for Sadiq by Baqir, given as knowledge to Baqir from Sajjad. Sajjad spoke it from blood of Hussein. Hussein removed it from the coffin of Hassan. Hassan took it from the shroud of Ali. Ali was told to guard it by Muhammad. Muhammad was given it by Jibreel. Jibreel sent it as a trust from Allah, that he who believes in Allah and Muhammad is saved. He who believes in Allah and Muhammad is saved. If you accept the conditions of Muhammad and the sons of Muhammad, salawat.